As we've seen pretty clearly with the CPU market, the more competition there is, the better a deal us as consumers end up getting. And the same can be said for the streaming accessory market, like the Elgato Streamdeck and like this, the Loupedeck Live. Now, much like the Streamdeck, the Loupedeck Live has touchscreen buttons that you can customize to do a number of different things, and although unlike the Streamdeck, has hardware dials and buttons to allow even more customization and control options. Let me walk you through it and show you the hardware, the software, and if it's worth picking this up over a Stream Deck. But first, if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more videos like this one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Hardware-wise, Loupedeck has smashed it with the Live. This is an incredibly premium feeling bit of kit. It feels very nice in the hand, although obviously you don't tend to keep it in your hands. And these hardware dials are just phenomenal. They feel genuinely pleasurable to use. They have a nice notch to them and they have a solid feeling click under them too, as do the hardware buttons. The only thing that isn't fantastic about the hardware is that this has a haptic vibration motor inside, which really isn't fantastic compared to, say, the Stream Deck's more just mushy buttons instead. They include a braided right-angled USB cable. It's pretty short and it has a USB Type-C plug on the end and then comes with an adapter in the box, but either way, it's quite nice. The stand that's included is fine, it holds it up at enough of an angle, but I would like to have seen a more adjustable stand, especially for the price they're asking for. Now, unfortunately, that's where most of the positive things I have to say about the Loupedeck Live kind of run out, because now I have to show you the software. Now, I should note that I've been on basically beta versions of the software and pre-release versions, which means that some of the issues and bugs that I have seen may be fixed by the time you get your hands on one. But if the review from Taryn from Linus Tech Tips on their short circuit channel of the bigger version of this, the Loupedeck CT, is anything to go by, I can't actually guarantee that much, if any, of those bugs will actually be fixed. Anyway, here it is. Let me show you around. In the center, you have the main area that shows you what the device will show. You can click into it and see the full page and multiple pages if you have them. On the left, you have all of the possible actions that you can add to these pages, and on the right, you have all of the different places where you can put those actions. The round buttons that are on the bottom of the display have a separate page and menu to the main touchscreen pages, of which they have different workspaces. Each workspace has a number or a collection of pages both for touchscreens and dials, although the pages end up acting very similarly to the workspaces, minus the fact that you can change what the dial pages show, but you can still access them by the buttons at the bottom or touchscreens as well. Are you confused yet? Yeah, because I am too, and the worst bit is we're not even done. The actions that are on the left, while they are searchable, are application specific, as are the workspaces and buttons as well. You have to pick which application you want to change your settings for, and all of those settings for each of those applications, besides Spotify in a few niche cases, are locked down heavily to where you can only access them when that program is open and your main selected window. So for example, if you're using Photoshop, you cannot change your system volume without clicking out of Photoshop to then get back to the Windows profile where you can change the menu or the volume. And for example, you can't say pause your music from inside Premiere unless, again, you click away from Premiere so that you can get the Windows application back and then pause it. If you are using OBS or Streamlabs OBS, you do have the slight advantage of having some extra actions, especially for Spotify, able to be used from inside the OBS application. But that's pretty much it. And what makes it worse is that when you click away from a given application, say you have Premiere Pro open and you click on a File Explorer window so that you can drag some more footage into your Premiere timeline or your media library, all of your Premiere options would completely disappear the second that you click on that File Explorer window, and they will only reappear when you click on Premiere again. Now, there is a kind of hacky way that, especially for OBS, they are able to lock you in an application, and that's this lock button. Now, I would argue that the lock button is actually reversed, as the button or the image that the button shows doesn't show you your current state, it shows you what will happen when you next press it. So as you can see, the padlock is locked, which actually means that it's unlocked and you can do whatever you want and it will switch between applications. But if you press the button and it shows you an unlocked padlock, well, that means that it's locked and that it won't switch applications or won't switch what's on screen when you switch applications. I know it's a bit weird. Now, they did say that they want to change how they're going to lock you in an application. But the thing is that I feel like that's the wrong mentality. I don't want to have to swap application every time I want to change my Spotify settings. If I'm listening to music in the background while editing photos, I don't want to have to go and click on Spotify just to be able to pause my music or skip a track. I want to be able to do that from any page, from anywhere on the device. As for customization, there isn't all that much, at least right now. When it comes to the built-in actions like the ones in Photoshop, for example, you cannot change these icons. You can try and right-click on them, you can try and find them in the menu. If you drag them on, then again, it just either says text or has a predefined image, and there's no way for you to customize these images or the colors that they are as is. There is technically a very hacky and honestly terrible workaround, which is if you scroll down to the custom actions folder, create a group of custom actions, and then create some custom actions inside that, you can then pre-select whatever action it is, name it, and then you can give it an icon manually, but you'd have to remake every single option in the software just to put your own actions on it, which seems like a lot of work. Now, apparently they are changing this, so you will be able to customize that in the future, but I can't exactly review non-existent features. Oh, and one other thing about these custom actions is that these are not customizable in the sense that you can have multiple images depending on what state something's in. For example, with Streamlabs OBS, I have a custom start and stop stream button, which shows me very clearly if I am streaming or not. You cannot have those sorts of custom images where when you press the button, it displays one image, and then when you press it again, it displays another one. That's just not a possibility. One other gripe I have with the software is the lack of help, the lack of explanation of what any of the different actions do or what they control. For example, that lock icon, until I spoke with Loupedeck directly and they told me the lock icon is the thing that locks the application, doesn't switch when you change what program you're using, I didn't know what it did. You can try and right click on this for all you like. You can try and right click on the options in the menu. You can hover over to see if it'll give you a little tooltip and tell you what it would do, but nothing is defined here. Even in things like Premiere, there are a whole load of either just like ones that say reset or, just there's no explanation of what anything is or does, which is really frustrating to set up and to use. What's so monumentally frustrating about the Loupedeck Live is that I can see so much promise with this. When the features that they currently offer do work, this becomes a phenomenal tool for creators, not just for people who live stream, but for people who use Premiere, Photoshop, Lightroom, anything like that. It is a phenomenal, just absolutely incredible tool if the software that they provided works. I mean, even for streaming specifically, as that's what this is technically geared towards, being able to individually adjust volumes for each of your individual sources, things like your mic audio versus your game audio versus your background music, being able to just twiddle a dial and change those volumes on the fly is incredibly useful. It's so much easier, more intuitive to use than the Streamdeck for especially things like changing audio. And if they had, and especially the fact that they have integration with not only the Streamlabs OBS and OBS APIs, but also the Adobe CC Suite, which again is something that the Streamdeck doesn't have, it makes it an incredible tool for creators that just doesn't work. Loupedeck have some real guts, charging a whopping £229 for this thing, which I should add is more £20 more than the Streamdeck XL, the one that has 28 touchscreen buttons instead of 12, and has a much wider plugin and just functionality library that actually works right now. The Stream Deck, you can do things like see live viewer counts for not only Twitch but also YouTube. You can do things like monitor your CPU and GPU temps. You can do really easy multi-actions, including leaving messages in Twitch and YouTube chats and then starting the stream and tweeting for you as well. You can also do things like saving instant replays from the GeForce experience and just a whole load of other things, and it's so much easier to use and set up by comparison. I really want the Loupedeck Live to be a great piece of kit that I could legitimately use either instead of or alongside my Stream Deck, as it shows real promise. But until it has an almost complete software overhaul with more features, less bugs, and a way easier to use user interface, I can't see myself ever using this or happily recommending it. And unfortunately, if the Loupedeck CT is anything to go by, that's probably not coming for a very, very long time. And that's really unfortunate because, like I said, I really want this to work, but for the time being, my Stream Deck is staying where it is on my desk, and this is going back in its box. Now, with that said, those are my thoughts, but I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of the Loupedeck Live? What do you think of their software and the comparison to the Stream Deck? Which one would you go for? At least right now, anyway. I'm going to leave a link to Loupedeck's website in the description down below. That is not an affiliate link or anything like that, it's just a link to their website where you can check it out, and if you do want to pick one up, then feel free to do so there. And that is pretty much it. There are a whole load of links in the description down below you can check out to help support the channel. There's a load of affiliate links down there from people like Overclockers UK, there's Streamlabs OBS if you want to do their Prime subscription, which actually seems like a pretty decent value if you stream quite a lot. And there's a load of other stuff like merch or hoodies or t-shirts like this one, Patreon for ad-free videos and supporting me directly, and just a load of other stuff too. I will leave some more videos over there, including the Stream Deck XL review if you want to check that one out. And that is pretty much it. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below, and otherwise, we'll see you all in the next video.